Good evening, everybody. And I say good evening because typically it's good morning, but this is new. This is Lowcountry Conversation After Hours. It's an extended conversation with our guests, and I'm super excited. I've got Emily Johnston, the social media influencer, the foodie, the fashionista, if you will, fashion fauxbois. Is
Yeah,
that still
old
a thing?
school. Well, no, we
That's
live in a new world, so
okay.
that's gone now.
That's gone now. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having
Man,
me.
it's my pleasure. I know, and we were just talking, we've known each other for a while. Obviously, you started on Instagram. You live in Beaufort. Your parents live in Beaufort.
Yeah.
You're based in London.
Yeah.
Kind of a dual citizenship-ish kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, officially dual
Officially,
citizen
well, there you
now.
go. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
yep.
And I think initially, it was your golden retrievers that you had tagged us in on a post. And I
Yeah.
think we shared that, and then
Yeah,
just started.
yeah, I think on the dock because my parents live
Exactly
out
right.
in the Sea Islands.
Yeah.
So, but Beaufort is, yeah, it's home for me, and I was always photographing the Goldens, and that I think there was one that went viral very
Yeah.
quickly, and it was just that iconic Beaufort sunset shot with two golden. Well,
I mean,
in
you
my
can't-
mind,
Yeah, yeah.
with two golden retrievers
Yeah.
sitting on the dock and the
Yeah.
beautiful, obviously sunsets that we all know and love in the Lowcountry, and it's just
Yes.
one of those magical moments that I
Yeah.
happened to capture. So.
And it did. And people love sunsets, docks, and dogs.
Yeah, it's a magic recipe.
I mean, what it is, yeah. And what are the dogs' name? Is
Boomer and Brody.
Boomer and Brody.
Yeah.
Okay. And how old
Yeah.
are they?
They then oh my god, how many years?
Oh, how old
ago?
are they now?
Oh, now they're 10.
10.
Yeah, but they would have been pups then. I think that probably is
Yeah.
5 years ago now.
Yeah,
we're
give or
going.
take. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of. I mean, it's a bit funny because I didn't ever used to share anything
Right.
home because obviously my whole scene, personality, whatever you want to call it, was London based.
Yeah.
So that's what I was talking about. And then when I came home was like my shut off. And it just became this thing where I think also social media changed
Yeah.
and it was becoming a lot more about your life, not just, what you
Yeah.
would recommend and things like
Right.
that.
Exactly right.
And I think it was actually that picture that sort of set off this love affair on social media from my low country life.
Yeah.
And people really wanted to get a better view of that. And so I started to deliver.
Yeah. And it's crazy how you talk. Social media has changed because obviously your brand was fashion and talking all things fashion, and then people want to see the human side
Yeah.
of things, and
Yeah.
then what you're passionate about outside of work, if you will. And we tend to follow that same path. It's a lot of business stuff related, but then it's a lot of personal
Yeah.
things that happen with us outside of work and what's going on. So I think that's a good way to connect with your audience and let them learn more about you as a person, as opposed to just you pushing everything to them.
Yeah, I think it's not even correct anymore to say it's a fine line because it's not a fine line. In fact, I think you should be more personality and showing more of I wouldn't say your opinions because I think opinions are dangerous things these
Yep,
days.
100%.
Not because they shouldn't be shared, but
Right.
because the general consensus is if you share them,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
shouldn't be
yeah.
allowed to. I don't know how to put that politely.
Yeah,
Don't have an opinion.
You're guilty until proven innocent.
But yeah, I think it's much more about personality. And I was very lucky because I started FFG. It used to be Fashion Fauxbois. Again, a name that kind of came out of nowhere. I was one of the first bloggers to be full-time in London.
Wow.
And I think there were like 6 of us, and then that kind of grew to 12 in the first year and a
Yeah.
half. So it was a very small group of people.
Yeah.
And when we all started our blogs, none of us really thought they were going to go anywhere. So the names didn't really mean too much.
Right.
And I had this name, and all the luxury people wanted to work with me because they're like, "Oh, you're so edgy, and you're embracing luxury, but you're also doing it with fashion."
Yeah.
And then the name became something that all the animal rights activists were like, "Excuse me, are you killing geese in your back
Yeah,
room
yeah.
on Sundays?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening?" So I sort of changed into my own self because it became more about me, and it became more about me because I retained really good management at the right time when they were
Right.
seeing this whole idea of social media turn into something more Kardashian led.
Yeah.
And it was very voyeuristic, and people wanted to know everything about you. They didn't want to just know where to buy your dress. They wanted to know why you bought that dress, what kind of relevance it has in your life, how you're going to wear it, when you're going to wear it again,
Yeah.
and how it fits on you. And so it's just become something so much more than product pushing.
Yeah.
And for me, I have like a really clearly defined idea in my head that I only want to product push like 1 out of every 10 moments with my audience.
Right.
Because it just feels a little more organic.
Do you find, so even if you don't, so say you don't have a product push post in mind, but people still want to know.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a couple stories that it hasn't been that way, and then the next couple ones are, well, this is where I've got this. You're asking about this.
Yeah.
And then you have to do links for both U.S., America, and UK, correct?
Oh yeah, and then if somebody can't buy anything, it's like World War III on my direct messages.
How dare you? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really hard because I think we're also trying to be much more environmentally friendly, and we're talking about recycling clothing, and especially in Beaufort, like there are some killer charity shops around here. Or you don't call them charity shops, like Goodwill and
secondhand,
and vintage and things like that. And it really frustrates people when I'll have like an old Allman Brothers T-shirt or something, and they'll be like, "Where can I get that?" And I'll have to explain that it's actually my dad's concert T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you have to go back to 1985 or whenever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you know what? Though I think it's just you roll with it, and I always say this to people because I think there's this idea that it's very easy to be online, and it is, and it should be enjoyable. And I think probably if it's not, you shouldn't be online.
Right.
But you really need to roll with the punches and realize that not everybody's going to agree with you, which is probably one of the toughest things. And people, if they're invested in you, they go full in. And I have people say, and we've talked about this before, I get between 500 and 1,000 direct messages a day from my audience.
Insane.
And for me, I value that. I don't see that as a chore. I look forward to, at the end of my day, going into my DMs, communicating with people on a daily basis that tell me about their lives. They tell me about where they bought something because I recommended it and where they wore it and how it made them feel and the confidence level, or a vacation they went on because I went there. And there's just so many cool things that I'm in a very like base level way I get enjoyment from, and I get to learn about my audience. But then on a marketing level, it is the most incredible space to be able to know everything you need to know about servicing your audience.
Right.
And so I'm always really surprised when people say they don't have time for their DMs.
Yeah.
Because that's my magic space.
Of course. That's no different than, say, a musician. They don't have time for autographs or taking photos because they're your fan base, and they're the ones that are going to drive you monetarily, and it's going to help with that, all the other stuff that you do.
Yeah.
It's insane to me. So how do you feel? Does it still feel weird when you know that you touch so many people's lives just by your daily life? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that will always be bizarre, but I also treasure it so much, and I feel very special that I'm able to do that. And it can be hard at times. I think that people are very emotionally led as human beings, and they share a lot of things that it can be very difficult to take on.
Yeah.
If you're talking to 1,000 people a day, out of those 1,000, probably 100 of them are going through some tough times.
Yeah.
And you can't always solve it by telling them a good red dress to buy.
Right, of course. And it's hard.
It's hard.
It is hard. Do you ever get noticed or spotted out around town?
Yes.
In both locations?
Yes. And it's I don't mind it so much in London because when I'm out and about, I'm usually out and about for work. So I'm suited and booted, as it were. Yeah. And people, London is actually a pretty small town if you think about it. And the people that are locals there, same here. It's,
of course.
It's pretty small. And so in London, it's a lot on the tube. I mean, I have like 10,000 people in West London that follow me. So,
so
you're not
there's
really
a greater chance of you.
Yeah. And then in Beaufort, excuse me, I used to really laugh about this because I would come home and never wear makeup.
Right.
I'd go out in overalls. I would go out in like gym shorts. Yeah. My kind of outfit here is jean cutoffs and a t-shirt, no makeup, hair scraped up, like do not care. And then the first time that I was in Publix and I looked rough. Someone came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, how are Boomer and Birdie?" And I was with my boyfriend at the time, and he kind of looked at me and said, "Oh, do you know this person?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I don't, but I think they probably have seen Boomer and Birdie on Visit Beaufort or something." And then in London, the one thing I don't talk about online is my romantic life. And in London, I think probably the creepiest thing that I've had happen, and I've actually kind of said, please stop doing this, is say people would take pictures of me with my boyfriend on the tube and send it and be like, "Oh, you look so happy."
Wow.
And I would just say, actually, maybe just come up and say hi.
Wow.
Instead of taking a creepy picture.
I didn't think about that, yeah.
So and again, it's not that I mind it. It's just that every day is a learning curve of things I didn't expect to happen.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
We, in a weird sense, that we get it as well.
I bet you guys do.
We were at the air show this past weekend and had this gentleman kind of come up and put himself kind of in our space and introduce himself, and he's going to start a podcast. So I guess we had that connection together.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And then we have a circle that we hang with, in the sense that we work with the cities and both municipalities and things like that. So it's always weird to me when somebody talks to you as if they know you, but obviously you put yourself out there so they know you through the reels or the TikToks or whatever
Yeah.
you do. So it's a surreal scenario for us.
I can imagine. And also, I don't think, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like neither of us have ever been like, we're celebrities now.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely don't think that way at all, 100%.
It's not,
Yeah.
and I think I always say that as well, because I feel like there is a tendency online these days to make social media
yeah.
stars celebrities. And the whole reason that we started this, and I can safely say we started this, because literally, as bloggers,
Yeah.
we were the people that sort of laid the groundwork
Yeah,
for
you
this whole world that
Yeah.
exists now. And we started it because we wanted to kind of have a peer-to-peer mentality with things. We wanted to be able to see other people like us. And for me, because I'm a size 14 US, size 18 UK, my big thing on my platform was I was showing women a woman that looks like them. And that
Exactly right.
it was purely this idea of, I'm just like you and you don't see me in a magazine. So how about we talk about that
Yeah.
and kind of take tips from each other?
Yeah.
And it was very peer to peer.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, well, I say all of a sudden, over the last 10 years, it has developed into a mountain of something of a completely different nature.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad about that, because I don't ever think we should be considered celebrities or above anyone else in this world in any way, shape, or form. And I have always said that to people when they come up to me on the street. And I think that now this is what I love about it, is people will approach me as if I am a girlfriend they have known for 10 years.
Yeah.
And that makes me happier than anything else I've done, because if I'm able to make someone feel comfortable enough to approach me in that way, I feel like I'm doing my job correctly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're more susceptible to those friendships and people coming in because now they know you.
Yep.
And they're not intimidated or anything like that.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be. It should
No.
be a friendly place.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not Kim Kardashian.
No, thankfully
I mean,
not.
never would want to be.
Yeah. So speaking of people in social media, we talked briefly on this just a few minutes ago, but TikTok, or trolls in general, and I think there was one that you had done where they were kind of giving you a little bit of hell about your accent, if you will. You want to elaborate on that? How do you react to it? How does that make you feel?
I don't even actually know where to start with that one. I think, so I'll give you the context of the video. So obviously I do a lot of food stuff in London, and the whole premise of my channel is more or less, I know nothing about anything, but I'm out here living this life, and here you can watch me trip up several times a day.
Yeah.
And there's a really famous and beautiful hotel called the Lanesborough, that's on Hyde Park Corner. And I've worked with them a lot, and they very kindly invited me in to kind of experience their Sunday roast.
Right.
And I know how TikTok works, and I know the more buttons you push, the faster things roll. And I rather controversially started the video with the rather outstanding statement of, this is the most luxurious Sunday roast in London.
Yeah.
And that is a big statement, and
huge.
it hooks you in and people in London love their Sunday roast.
Yep.
And it did hook people in very quickly. And the conversation I was anticipating was, this girl's an idiot. She's American. She doesn't know what a Sunday roast is. So how can she tell us that this is the most luxurious? And I got that. And I was like, cool, this is going the way I thought it was going to go.
Right.
You're going to kill me on this. I'm here for it. I was prepared for it mentally. Then it took a very different turn, which I wasn't prepared for, which I think is why it hurt. And I continually get this on TikTok, which is who the heck do you think you are? You don't sound American, you don't sound British, and it sounds like you're an American who wants to be British.
Right.
And I've worked very hard not to sound British. I've lived there for 20 years now. I moved over the same time Madonna did, and she was like, posh British within 4 months of living there. And so in my head, I thought, I want to retain who I am.
Yeah.
But after 20 years of living there and working with the royal family, working with one of the most prestigious auction houses in the world, literally being around posh people, 12 hours a day, it's going to rub off on you a little bit.
Yeah.
And so the accent I have now is very confused. I will be the first to hold up my hand and say, I don't even know what I sound like. And when I come back, and actually when I was getting our Dunkin' Donuts coffee, you should sponsor this podcast. When I was getting Dunkin' Donuts, the lady who was at the window was so Southern.
Yeah.
And I slipped right back into it instantly. Anyway, so these people started going after me for my accent. And there was one comment that I can't actually repeat because there were so many curse words in it about what a horrible person I was because
Wow.
of the way I sounded, that had 24,000 likes.
Really?
Yeah, within 4 days. So I was very confused because I have prepared myself for every kind of hate that I could imagine.
Yeah.
But that
Not
one
like
was
that
a
one.
new ball in the court. And I really, I didn't know what to do with it. And so I thought, how am I supposed to handle this as a
Yeah.
person of social media? And then I just went, I'm not going to. And I turned off the comments.
Yep. That's the
That was the end.
right decision to make. We
Yep.
had in TikTok, and their algorithm is weird to me in the sense that I did a video probably, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and it's just now gaining, let's say viral status, but it's gaining some traction.
Yeah.
And it's just the Woods Memorial Bridge, the one with the video and the audio, and it's really cinematic and it's really gorgeous.
Oh, I've seen the one you're talking about. Yeah.
But for whatever reason, now it's hitting everybody in Beaufort. So
Oh, God,
therefore,
okay.
everybody in Beaufort is talking. This is a hellhole. We hate living here.
Oh,
Y'all
what's
trying to
wrong
make
with
Beaufort look
people?
pretty, things like that. And there was one. It was like, oh, we're full. Don't come back here. So I replied once, and it was just, tourism dollars brings a lot to the community. And then somebody
Yeah.
else had made a comment that you're farthest from the truth, something like that. You basically saying what I was saying was a lie.
Seriously?
Yeah. They don't understand how that works. So I was going to reply, just, we recommend that you go to watch the city meetings online, learn about your local government and
Yeah.
budget meetings and all that stuff to see where those money's being spent. But what I typically do is I'll write something, send it off to the boss, aka my wife.
Yep.
So how does this sound? And we had a little conversation. I said, you know what, it's not worth it. So just delete it. And obviously it wasn't negative on my end, but just
Yeah.
feeding into that negativity just fuels for everybody else to jump on board.
It's a hard one to gauge whether or not you should respond.
Oh, it is.
Because actually, it kind of works in your favor if you do kick
Yeah.
off that conversation. So
Yeah.
TikTok is it's a weird fueling because you want controversy, you want anger.
Right.
And obviously we don't want that,
Yeah.
but you do need that on your post in order for your post to
Yeah.
go anywhere. And it's just the weirdest little things and so because I've done this for so many years, usually I can predict just about anything and
Yeah.
I'm so ready for it. But TikTok, I have no power there to predict anything. I mean, I did a bedroom. I basically worked with a brand and redid my bedroom in London and I have a 2-bedroom flat, and the bigger bedroom is my closet. So I have this tiny bedroom that it's tiny,
Right.
but I sleep in there.
That's
Like
all you
I'm there
need.
6 hours
Yeah.
a day. I don't need it to be big.
Yeah.
And I had this beautiful bed, and I put it in front of a window because I can't put it anywhere else. It doesn't fit anywhere
Right.
else. And my goodness gracious, it was like I don't even know how to compare this to anything. It was like I had just done the worst thing in the world. People went after me. I think it had like 1.5 million views in 24 hours. And people were so enraged by the fact that I had blocked the window, not even the whole window, just the bottom of the window, and the feng shui or something that
Yeah.
I had messed up. And it made people so angry.
Yeah.
And the comments calling me stupid or someone who shouldn't be allowed to create because I
Wow.
put a bed in front
Yeah.
of a window.
It doesn't make any sense, but you're right. You do need that controversy, if you will.
Yeah.
Even a lot of creators will do it. You say something wrong appropriately or on purpose. You spell something wrong, do a little grammar mistake.
Yeah.
And it's going to get the reaction, therefore it's going to get the views. And it's just insane that that's kind of what we've come to.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that says about our future, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't either.
But we both play the game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mine, I don't play it. For us, it's just to keep top of mind and let folks know what we're doing and where
Yeah.
we're at and things like that.
But I think the Beaufort conversation is an interesting one about
It
tourism
is.
and things. And,
I think it is as well.
and I think it is different. Listen, if you live here, it's different.
Of course.
It hits different.
Yeah.
And when I come home and I can't get reservations at any restaurants in the summer, I used to get really annoyed at that. And now I think from a more business-minded perspective, I think great, because
Yeah.
that means Beaufort's doing really well
Yeah.
and there are people coming in
Yeah.
and the town itself is successful off
Yeah.
the back of this. But it is frustrating as a local. And when I talk to my parents and
Yeah.
they want to do something like go and eat at our mutual favorite
Yeah.
restaurant and they can't get
Can't get in.
a reservation, it's really annoying.
It is.
And it's about perspective. And I think a lot of things changed over COVID as
Yeah.
well, with so many people coming in
Yeah.
and moving down here
Yeah.
and they weren't local, and a community does change because of that.
Yeah.
But if you want your community to be successful and you want Bay Street to continue to have great stores and
Yeah.
you want great new restaurants opening and change is inevitable.
It is.
It's just how you want to change.
It is.
And there's
And
so many small towns in this country that have gone completely bust.
just take a ride up to, if you're going to Augusta, and go through Varnville and those other small towns there, and you'll see they're basically, on the side of the railroad tracks run straight through the town. So they're railroad towns built
Yeah.
on that, and they just don't have the traffic.
And they're ghost towns.
They are,
North
really.
Carolina, I did a road trip through North Carolina last year, and I grew up in Charlotte, and I was stunned at some of the towns that I used to go through as a kid,
Yeah.
that there were no store, like there was no main street,
Yeah.
and it was completely devoid of personality, and everything that used to exist as a hustle and bustle was completely gone. So I do tend to go that way when people start to complain about Beaufort going in the wrong direction,
Right.
because the wrong direction would be the direction where the town doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly right.
So maybe let's put a little
Yeah.
glaze on that and be
Yeah.
happy for what we have.
And again, perspective is huge. And these commenters when I look at their accounts, they're younger, so I
Yeah.
understand it. If you're 18, 19, 20, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
I've been here 26 years, and at that age, I was telling Tony I moved here when I was 25, and at that point, of course, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But still, now as you get older, you appreciate the history. The landscape is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And take advantage of the tours and just learn about the area and what it has to offer. But the CVB, the Convention Visitors Bureau, Rob and their team has done a great job marketing the area. And
They have.
We've been with them for a long time, but they've got a separate PR team that helps with some of the articles and some of those accolades that we get in Southern Living and things like that.
Yeah.
So those help a lot. But what's funny to me is when those get posted, it's typically, we don't want to be Charleston, or we're full, we don't need anybody. It's just a lack of them understanding the value of a dollar when it comes into town and how it's spent.
Yeah.
That's what keeps all these Bay Street businesses open, because Lord knows we know the rent keeps going up every year, 2 years.
Yeah.
And so they have to finance that, and these tourism dollars helps with that, and tax dollars and all this other stuff.
Oh, I mean, and when I put stuff up about Beaufort,
Yeah.
there are inevitably people who say, please stop doing this, because I'll do a
Oh,
great local
Yeah.
food place that, like, what's the one I did last year? The great place that has the open deck overlooking the marsh, that is
On St. Helena,
yes.
Foolish Frog.
No, the one that's looks like a truck stop from the outside. It's got the great painting of the marsh on the front of the building. It's next to Dockside.
Why do I know this?
I don't know why I don't know why I'm blanking on this name. Anyway, it's this great little hole in the wall sort of place, right?
Yeah.
And for the first few years, God, this is gonna bug
It's
me.
the filling station.
The filling station. Yeah. Okay. So you know what I'm talking
Yeah, I
about.
know exactly what you're talking
So
about.
the filling station, if you drive by there, and you didn't know what it was,
Yeah.
you would continue driving.
Of course.
It's all pickup trucks
Yeah.
outside, and you think, oh, it's probably like a local fishing haunt or something.
If you walk in and nobody knows who you are, they're going to stare at you.
Yeah, and you will feel really awkward.
Yeah.
You also have no idea that on the other side of that brick wall that's beautifully painted,
It is.
you would find one of the best views for a great margarita and a
Oh, yeah,
burger.
100%.
And I didn't know about that for the longest time
Yeah.
until I managed to get some, friends my age in
Yeah.
Beaufort, and everyone said, "Oh, you have to go to the filling station." And I kind of went, "Oh God, it looks kind of scary."
Yeah.
And then the first time I went in, I thought, "I've wasted all these years."
Not knowing.
And I put that on social media, and the amount of hate I got off the back of that in personal DMs from
Yeah.
Beaufort residents saying, "What? Don't do that. It's already full, and I can't find a parking space." And every time you talk about something, I can't get reservations. And there are, like, say, Black Sheep's a really good example of
Huge,
that.
yeah.
So Black Sheep, I was very excited about, and I've said to them a couple times, if the South was handing out Michelin stars, you guys would be top of the deck, because the food is just absolutely insane. And I wrote about it on my blog when I was still blogging, and I didn't do video because TikTok and Instagram really
Right.
weren't there yet, but I did a post, and people still go reference the fact that they see this blog post
Yeah.
and they saved it, and they're trying to make reservations and they can't, and it's really funny the amount of people that'll just give me hate because they'll think that somehow, even if I've
you
never
influence-
written
yeah,
about
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
they'll be like, "I can't get a table at Plums now," and I was
Yeah.
like, "I just ate at Plums last week. I haven't even put anything online." And so it has nothing to do with me, but I think that people online these days need to direct their anger somewhere.
Oh,
And
they
so
do.
They see a spark,
Yeah.
like that is full
Yeah.
on fire
Yeah.
in their eyes,
Yeah.
and within seconds, and you just have to take it.
Keyboard warriors.
Yes.
So Matt at Black Sheep and Krista are phenomenal, but he does not want any of the recognition or the accolades. He is probably the most humble
I think I love him more
celebrity
for
chef.
it.
Exactly. Oh no, 100%, 100%. And he's we've done some fun stuff with him over
You've
the
done some
last.
great stuff with
We
him.
have, and actually we had VIP tickets to the air show, so I gave him Sunday access, and we hung out for a little bit on Sunday. And he's just so personable,
Yeah.
and genuine, and everybody that eats there, I think, feels like they're best friends with him because he'll sit at the table and talk to you and creates these relationships. And I think at the end of the day, it's kind of hard for him because the time that he's doing that, at the end of the day, he still has to clean the kitchen. It's just them two alone. So
It still
he doesn't
amazes me.
have anybody else that's doing dishes or whatever. It's them
Yeah.
two.
Yeah. But I haven't been in since they renovated it and put it in
gorgeous.
the bar. Is that what
Yeah.
they're,
Yep. So there's a bar and he's got a neon light on the window. And it's kind of, if it's on.
No one can remember
I
this.
know. So
Literally
it's
everyone in town's
it's
like, I don't know, so I just go in.
It's opposite of Krispy Kreme. So Krispy Kreme, when the light's on,
They're cooking.
They're cooking.
baking.
So when the light's on, it's full. When the light's off, their table is open. So if you don't see the blue, purple neon,
And I would reverse that probably, but you know,
he's been told
each
that.
to your own.
Yeah. But it's fantastic. He's done a great job renovating, and the space is even more gorgeous now with the cooking and the cooktop and the gas that he's got in there. So his menu's been elevated, if you can even elevate his menu even more. But it's been brought up.
That's so cool.
It's phenomenal.
It's just I feel like it's a really important gem in Beaufort right now. And I think the food scene, I think that's why maybe it also scares people because Charleston became this food scene.
Yeah.
And it was something that was really heavily visited because of that.
Right.
And so maybe people see this idea of Beaufort becoming a food scene. And it's like, oh God,
And
we don't really want that. But
Yeah.
people just come for the food and then they go.
Yeah, for sure. We're a day trip. We're a lot of day trippers for Savannah and for Bluffton, for Hilton Head, and for Charleston, and they can just come in and I don't think people realize how quick of a drive it is. Less than 2 hours from
Yeah.
both these locations, and
It's
you
so
spend
easy.
the day. Yeah,
It's so easy.
and they don't understand. The movies that have been made here, from The Big Chill to The Great Santini to
Forrest Gump?
Forrest Gump, most notably Forrest Gump. And a lot of people, when I try to explain, oh, where's Beaufort at? You've seen Forrest Gump. You know that bridge. That's the bridge that that he used when he ran across.
Yeah. Hunting Islands.
Hunting Island, yep. G.I. Jane,
Yeah.
Tarzan. So it's a fantastic area,
Yeah.
and I think it's still a big secret
Yeah.
to a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. And it's social media has changed the game for everybody.
It has.
I think for travel, it's the great search these days for influencers to find something that hasn't been talked about. So they are pretty much exposing things all over the world. And again, it's a catch-22 because obviously a tourist dollar is very important.
Yep.
And it keeps a town, running, and we need that. But at the same time, I get it. There are local places that you just don't want to talk about. And I'm not going to lie, there are now a few places in Beaufort that I won't talk about because I don't want them to be places that everyone goes to. I want to be able to get a table. And I hate that. For the most part, I'm very much like, let me do what I can. And even yesterday, and I do love this, yesterday I went to the beach on Hunting Island and I stopped into Bedo's.
Oh, nice.
And I love, and that is the prime example of a great place to talk about because it's on the way to the beach. Anybody can pop in, get a burger, go to the beach. It's done. Like that's an easy transaction. I'm not worried about that getting, too stuffed with people. They've got great staff. They're very fast, thorough, and I just really, this isn't a plug for Bedo's, but I really love them. And I love being able to talk about things like that because it's easy, or like the Shrimp Shack or things like that. And especially because that's kind of out in my part of Beaufort.
Right.
And it's, that kind of stuff is, I think, kind of cool, but I do see, so here's a good example, the California wildflowers.
Yeah.
So they've actually had to close parts of the mountains in California because so many influencers and tourists were coming and literally trampling the flowers to take pictures. So I think, again, pluses and minuses, but everything in moderation and with respect.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, is kind of finding that respect level these days. And I'm not sure if that's a youth-driven thing or
I don't know. I think it's a narcissistic thing. Everybody wants to be the main character, and it's like when you see those reality versus Instagram reels or TikToks or even imagery where it shows these people and what it really looks like. It's jam packed with folks in line waiting to get that one epic shot.
Yeah.
It's that false sense of reality that people want other people to see and to perceive that they have a better life than everybody else. So
and I think that is a hard thing to balance.
Yeah.
And I mean, I go the way of, I'm going to make an idiot of myself, and that's how I balance it. So a really good example is I did a project with Mandarin Oriental for their new Marrakesh property. And I mean, I wasn't even trying to be an idiot. This just came naturally. I walked in and we each got a suite staying there, which is just mind blowing in itself. And it's like a villa. You have like your own villa, and you walk in, and we got taken on golf carts, and like, they take your passport and stuff. And anyway, we get to the villa, and he opens the front door. I was like, oh, what a cool pool. So do we each have our own room, like off the pool? And he was like, no, this is your villa. And I was like, yeah, no, I get that, but like, where's my room? And he was like, no, this is your room. Like, this is your pool, and I'm your butler.
Wow.
And I just kind of was going, I don't think I understand. And he just looked at me like, what is wrong? Have you never stayed in a luxury hotel before? And I'm like, I mean, I do this for a living, so yes, but it was just one of those moments where it's so humbling, like how incredible things can be around you. And I think the important thing is to share that humbling experience. So for me, yes, I'm going to walk around like a goofball and just say, this is insane that I'm here, because that's truly how I feel.
Right.
And I think the edge that I don't like so much, or the slant that we're going with on social media at the moment, is this idea of I belong here, or I'm entitled to this. And I don't even think anybody is like, I don't care if you're a billionaire who invented, an internet company, you're not entitled to any of this. This is something that you're lucky to have. And I think more of us should have that slant. And then maybe there could be a little less hate on social media.
One would hope, but everybody just assumes just because you've reached a certain amount of followers or people that, you influence doesn't give you this right to be above anybody else.
No, I mean, no one is above anybody else, in my opinion, really.
No, 100%.
And especially for social media, like, what have I can only talk about myself, but like, I've done nothing. I've literally picked up a camera and filmed my life. I am there, that's the only thing that's different from every other human being, is I'm documenting it. And that's not easy, and it's not fun all the time.
No, because it's a job. It's a chore. You have to go into the mindset of whatever you're doing, how does that look, or how do you film this, or how do you document that?
Yeah, or literally every part of my life is a content creation moment.
Every day.
I don't hate it. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I live for it. But it is done with hopefully a humble finger on it, because I feel privileged to be able to do this, to be able to share that. And the numbers, I don't understand why that many people are interested in what I do. But as the numbers grow, I feel more of a pressure to create more, to have more, to share more, and to have that be more relevant, more educational, more something that makes your life better on a daily basis, or makes you smile. Like, even that, I feel like if more of us were just intent with our content and going, I just want to make somebody smile today. What a better world this would be. Not, I want somebody to be really jealous of this thing that I have that you don't have.
Yeah, exactly right. Do you feel, have you ever been burnt out?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I think I do. I work all the time.
Right, of course.
I think my life is a vacation, but I haven't taken a vacation in 14 years.
Wow. So even and it's funny. Now that you said that, my whole mind went somewhere else. But it's like the whole complaint, or how dare you feel this way because you're rich, or how dare you feel this way because you have this. It doesn't negate the fact that you're still human and you have these feelings. But just because you're on vacation, you're still working. Yeah,
because technically my vacations are not vacations at all. They are. Even when I'm home, my mom and dad are constantly telling me I need to switch off, but I can't. If I get up every morning for sunrise and I'm out there every day for sunset, during the day, if I'm eating somewhere, it's something I'm creating.
So now so when you say you can't, that's a mental thing that you can't?
Yeah, it's a mental.
So
I can absolutely just go, hey, I'm taking a break for a week.
Because it's not going to hurt you monetarily or financially.
No, and I think probably people will be like, good for you, you're taking a break.
Somebody.
But I get more anxiety being somewhere absolutely amazing and not somehow sharing that.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that I share everything.
Right.
I'm also, because I've been doing this for almost a decade and a half, I know how to capture something quickly and then put my phone down and have the experience. Because I actually had two things happen. I read an article, and on the day after I read the article, I had someone from the New York Times who I was on a press trip with who yelled at me and told me to put down my phone and enjoy the sunset in front of me in a really nice, pleasant way.
Right.
And I read this article that said that actually we don't retain information anymore because we're not actually seeing it. We're seeing it through our phones.
Right.
So memories aren't memories anymore.
Yeah.
They're pictures in your phone. So they're not in your head. They're stored on a card
Right.
somewhere. So that's when I completely changed my approach to content creation. And I was like, okay, I'm going to capture what I need to
Yeah.
capture. And then the phone
Goes
sits
away.
down so that I can actually experience it as another person would experience
Right.
it and be able to talk about it in that way.
Yep. And that's funny you say that, because I have a ton of photography that lives on my site, and I can probably guarantee you I can remember every single one of those because I'm in the moment. I'm focused on what I'm trying to do. I snap that photo, and then it is what it is. I just wish other parts of my life were that way, and I can remember everything.
Yeah.
But what's going on up here is that it's 100 miles an hour and all this other stuff. But that's a great. I think people would enjoy hearing that, because they think you have this great life that you're on vacation, but yet you're still on vacation. You're not working.
Yeah.
But
I think you do have to shut off. And I don't think I've reached burnout yet where I need to completely shut off. And I have seen that happen to people.
Yeah.
And I don't really know the answer to how you don't get to that point.
And I think I think if you love what you're doing and it doesn't necessarily feel so much like a job.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe that's that shift, is when you have to do it as opposed to you love doing it. I mean, granted, I love doing what I do, and I work a lot. I have to do it, but at the same time, I'm driven by lack of failure, or not wanting to fail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or disappointing our clients, or pissing somebody off because we couldn't do this or whatever. That's my drive and motivation.
I get that. I mean, my whole thing is also that what I do for a living does have a fragility to it.
Yeah.
And it's in the point of it could all disappear tomorrow.
100%.
So people have always asked me, what's your 5 and 10 year plan? Yeah. And my response has always been, I will just be happy if it's still around tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I've, in my head, completely come to terms with that, because we live in a digital world. Any one of these things could be taken out at any time. Yeah. TikTok, for example, this whole idea of it being banned. Anything could happen. It's digital. Yeah. Nothing is foolproof. Right. So I really, truly operate on the idea of, if this is my last day doing it, I've had a hell of a run.
Right.
And that, I think, is why I don't burn out, because I just think it could disappear. So why don't just enjoy it? And also the power of now. And it really is, that whole mentality has really changed everything for me, and just being where I am in the moment and enjoying that, and not thinking too far ahead or having some master plan on how I'm going to
for sure.
captain the universe. It's really as simple as, I'm really happy in this time and space.
Yep.
What happens next? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody should have that outlook on life, because you don't know what's going to happen, and from a, not just from a career standpoint, but just from a life standpoint. All these stories, people passing away, and these accidents that happen literally at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, and I mean, if COVID didn't put that into perspective for people, sure. It's just there's just so many little moments where I think the universe is trying to tell you that maybe just be happy in the here and now.
Yep, 100%.
So, yep.
Talking about fashion and your love of fashion, obviously you got a great sense of style, and
thank you.
Has that always been there?
I think it's always been an obsession.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't want to say
You've always had.
I've always had an obsession with style.
Yeah.
And I really have. I've been reading any kind of fashion magazine I could get my hands on since I was about 9.
Okay.
So it's been something that I really have always loved. I never ever thought I'd make a career of it.
Right.
I was an art history major. I was a director at an auction house for 10 years. Wow. And I did this as kind of like a fun thing to do, because this is gonna sound so up my own, but I'd gotten so good at what I'd done in the arts that it didn't really take me all day to do it anymore.
Understood.
And so I was looking for something to drive me creatively, which is why I started the blog. And then the blog just became, I had like 1 million viewers in 3 months. So it became something that was so unexpected.
Yeah.
And then I could feed this other creative thing that's been living within me since I was a kid.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And that was back, I guess, when blogs were really kicking off. And
2009.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how we've come from a written form of that, so where we're at now visually with the photography and videography aspect of it.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, the video, I still try it's hard, because I really evolved from long form writing to this idea of keep it under a minute on video. And I mean, a lot of people are doing like 7 seconds. I'm like, oh my God,
yeah,
I could
yeah,
never
yeah.
possibly do that. So I'm still kind of writing, but it's more as a voiceover with video. And I think that's, if I could give one piece of advice for social media, it's just that you really have to just learn to roll with it.
Yeah.
Because we're not in charge. We are being totally puppeted
Yeah.
and we are told what we need to do, and you either choose to go by that or get lost in the mix.
Yep, 100%. You have to adapt.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
And this whole video thing, I don't think anybody really expected. Nobody could have expected TikTok.
No.
I think everyone thought Instagram was just the social media winner. What
Right.
on earth could we create that would ever take
Right.
over Instagram? Obviously, we watched Instagram get scarier than it's ever been in its
Yeah.
life, and it's video is hard. It's a hard thing
Yeah.
to go from. I mean, I did still imagery
Yeah.
for 10. No, when did video come in? Like 12,
Yeah.
12 and a half years. And so I went from being able to curate a beautiful image in a marsh with a sunset
Right.
to now having to figure out how that can translate into a video with whether it's sound, voiceover, music.
There's a lot that goes into it.
And it's just, and that's the other thing is I think there's a lot of people that think, oh, you just shot a video.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people think is you just shot a video,
Yeah.
or just no different with photography. Oh, you must have a great camera.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit more detailed into that, and you know, the camera angles and the movements and the direction of everything makes a difference. You're basically telling a visual story with that.
And it's a learned art form.
It
It
is.
really is. And I have so many friends in London who are photographers, influencers, creatives, and they have grown up with still imagery. And we've all grown up with still
Yeah.
imagery. And they are sticks in the mud. They will not budge. And I'm just watching them become irrelevant. And
have to.
I keep saying to them, it's just an extension of still imagery, really, because you're still creating. You're editing, you're focusing your mind on a certain frame,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just moving.
It's a moving
kind
picture.
I know. I was like, we're kind of going back in
Yeah,
time,
yeah, yeah.
but it's not scary.
Yeah.
It actually allows you to expand so much more and be a much more incredible storyteller, I think.
Yeah.
So I think it's really powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just say it's the ebb and flow. You kind of just have to be really open to wherever it's going to lead
Yeah,
you
yeah.
from one day to the next.
Yeah. And that's a life lesson in itself as well.
It is.
Emily, I appreciate you coming in. This has been fun, and obviously I think we could talk for hours.
I know.
Just about everything.
Sure.
So I appreciate you coming in, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.